Hi, I'm Erik Voss, and A Quiet Place is one of my favorite horror films in recent years. Directed by and starring John Krasinski, the movie follows a family of survivors in a world where blind alien creatures hunt humans through sound, forcing his family to communicate with sign language and walk around like hobbits on sand-covered paths, and avoid eating their popcorn too loudly. Guy sitting behind me, seriously, if you haven't seen it already, you gotta see this movie in a theater. The sound design is just nothing like I've ever seen or heard. But rather than just reviewing everything I loved about this movie, I'm gonna address some of the questions that you might have had. The ending, the creature's backstory, the family's decisions, sequel rumors, and spoiler warning if you haven't seen the movie yet. Okay, let's get started with the first question. What are the monsters? The monsters in this movie have no given name. Everything we know about them comes from notes and newspaper clippings in the Abbott's basement, and of course the way the creatures stalk and kill people. We know they are extraterrestrial. One headline says invasion, with images of meteors crashing all over the earth. Lee wrote on his dry erase board that they hunt in packs, and why don't they eat their prey? Suggesting these beings are way beyond mere survival. They're trying to exterminate the other noise-making species and turn Earth into their own natural soundscape. Other headlines describe them as indestructible, with one of Lee's notes on his dry erase board saying armor? Suggesting they could have some kind of biomechanical exoskeletal protective layer against human weapons. And of course, the creatures are blind, with highly sensitive auditory organs that detect noise, even a single word spoken out loud or a footstep that crunches too heavily on the leaves. The designers of this movie use lots of real-life animals to inspire these creatures. The creatures make clicking noises for echolocation, a detail pulled from bats. The designers also said that they looked at prehistoric fish, black snakes, as well as bog people, human corpses that have been mummified in peat, turning the skin black and giving it a sagging, leathery look, and giving me a new thing to be terrified of. They also mentioned the nautilus, a sea mollusk with bad vision. Their organs are contained within a protective shell, similar to these creatures. But the filmmakers still wanted the creatures to look vaguely humanoid, so they also pulled inspiration from the xenomorphs of Alien. And you can definitely see that in the odd angles of the appendages and the aggressive rows of sharp teeth. Now, some are pointing out the design parallels to the Demogorgon of Stranger Things, which it does feature these opening flaps of the head revealing the red flesh underneath. Really, it was important to the VFX artists for the creatures and organs to look gross and medical and raw, the way human guts or brains would look. Which brings us to our next question. What is the monster's weakness exactly? Now, this is a central question posed by the movie itself, written among Lee's notes. And as a movie, A Quiet Place cleverly uses the creature's own strength as their weakness. For one, using sound to hunt gives these creatures quite a few blind spots. Loud, natural sounds like a roaring waterfall cover any nearby quieter sounds, providing a safe haven from them. The creatures can also be drawn away by other louder noises like egg timers and fireworks. Most of all, sensitivity to amplified frequencies weakens them, which is what we see in the final scene. The family's daughter, Reagan, is deaf, and throughout the movie, Lee attempts to build from scratch cochlear implants for Reagan, which I know you can pronounce it either cochlear or cochlear. I'm gonna go with cochlear because it makes me giggle, which never worked because Lee is a self-taught medical engineer using scavenged supplies. Unlike a hearing aid, which amplifies sound for the hard of hearing, a cochlear implant bypasses the normal hearing process. It's inserted inside the cochlea and uses electrical energy to stimulate the auditory nerve. And the specific frequency of this malfunctioning cochlear implant disrupts the auditory nerve of these creatures. It happens on accident a few times with Reagan, until the ending when the family is cornered in the basement and she turns it back on and presses it against Lee's microphone. And the creature freaks out! Close-ups show its outer shell on its appendages wrinkling and fidgeting as its head flaps go berserk until it collapses and then jumps back up, exposing its vital organs, and allows Evelyn, Emily Blunt, to blast those organs with a shotgun, killing it. And then that sound lures in more creatures seen on the security monitors, leading Reagan to crank Lee's microphone all the way up to 11, preparing to destabilize all the creatures in the nearby area as Evelyn pumps the shotgun like a badass. And this ending answers a few other questions you might have had, like how could this family survive when the rest of the world couldn't? A Quiet Place is really effective at avoiding those sci-fi horror movie tropes like one family saves the planet. Well, first, we know that the Abbott family isn't the only survivors of this. Every day at sundown, remember, Lee lights a torch atop his grain silo, signaling to a dozen others in the area. But for the Abbotts to devise an actual weapon against the creatures, succeeding where the US military and all the militaries around the world failed, it still makes sense because their oldest child, Reagan, is deaf. When the invasion hit, they had already been using various forms of nonverbal communication. That made them better better fit for survival. Only less than 1% of the population is deaf, giving the Abbotts a very uncommon advantage. And that advantage, which of course was disguised as a weakness, was the thing that led to Lee's construction of all these cochlear implants that would later be used as a weapon against the creature's nervous systems. Also, we don't know if the Abbotts even survived. 2 of the 6 of them die in this movie, and for the remaining 4 at the end, lots of creatures were headed that way. Who knows how much ammo Evelyn had in that shotgun? The movie's cut to black ending suggests a fight, but not necessarily survival. And now we come to perhaps the biggest question, at least I had. Why did the family choose to get pregnant? I don't know about you, but when I saw Emily Blunt's womb after the cut forward in time, I was like, seriously? You couldn't wrap it up, Big Tuna? Gonna bring a screaming baby into this world? Knock him out with O2 gas every day and put him in a box for who knows how many years? Now, I don't think this pregnancy was an accident. For the Abbotts, the risk that pregnancy brings into their lives speaks to the fiber of their character. Sure, they're cautious and practical in all other ways, but that doesn't make them paranoid hermits. They still sit down for family dinners, they pray, they teach their kids math, they go out on foraging expeditions, and yes, they continue to grow their family with another child. Evelyn jokes with Marcus about dying an old woman. They believe in their futures. So rather than seeing Beau's death as a warning to turn inward in fear, they view it as a missed opportunity to prove themselves as survivors and protectors.
Who are we if we can't protect them?
Right after giving birth to her new son, Evelyn tells Lee, "I could have held him." Now the line is a misdirect. She's not referring to the baby, but to Beau on the day he died. She could have held him on the walk back to their home. Now Evelyn just gave birth, but she's playing woulda, coulda, shoulda with the last kid. Clearly she sees this new son as her second chance to survive on her own terms. So this baby, while super impractical in this world, is this movie's beating heart. And from a narrative standpoint, a pregnancy is one hell of a ticking time bomb. And before I go, one final question. What will happen in the sequel? The screenwriters, Brian Woods and Scott Beck, said that they were totally open to a sequel, saying it's a fun world and there are so many other things you can do, hinting at a ton of scene ideas that they couldn't fit in the movie. And they indicated any sequel wouldn't follow the Abbott family necessarily, perhaps opening things up to other survivors in this alien invaded world. Now, if that sounds similar to like a Cloverfield extended universe, interesting you should bring that up. The writers said that A Quiet Place was briefly considered to be part of Paramount's Cloverfield series, but the writers preferred it to be its own story and world. And here's hoping any future A Quiet Place movies go further in this direction, specifically when it comes to the movie's bold sound design. Apparently, Woods and Beck's original script for this movie only had 1 line of dialogue. I would love to see A Quieter Place live up to its title. But a question for you guys, what was your biggest jump scare in A Quiet Place? For me, it wasn't even one of the creatures. It was freaking Emily Blunt just slapping her bloody hand against the shower stall door. God, there's gotta be a better way to get his attention, right? Comment down below with your thoughts or tweet me directly at Erik Voss and follow New Rockstars on Twitter for updates on our videos. Like and share this video and subscribe to New Rockstars for more analysis and deep dives into movies you love. We've done similar explainers for Stranger Things and Annihilation and It and Get Out. Now you get out of here, but thanks for watching. Bye.